The night my marriage ended, I wasn't crying. I was standing in my dark kitchen at 3 in the morning, completely still, staring at a bank alert on my phone screen. $125,000. Gone. My father's money. Every single dollar he had saved over 40 years of teaching high school math. Gone from my account at 2:31 in the morning, while my husband slept peacefully upstairs. And that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was the yellow envelope sitting on my coffee table. The one from Multnomah County Circuit Court. The one my husband had been counting on me never finding until it was too late. He had filed papers in court to have me declared mentally incompetent, so he could legally take my dead father's house. He had been planning it for 6 months. And he was 3 days away from pulling it off. Stay with me. Because what happened in that courtroom changed everything. And the document that stopped him. My husband never saw it coming. My name is Rachel. My father, Michael Hayes, spent 40 years teaching high school math in Portland, Oregon. He never made a lot of money. He never tried to. He drove the same car for 12 years. He packed his own lunch every single day. He kept a handwritten budget in a spiral notebook that he updated every Sunday morning with his coffee. He was the most careful man I have ever known. Careful with money. Careful with his words. Careful with the people he loved. When he got sick, I took care of him. I reorganized my entire freelance business around his chemo schedule. I slept on a cot in his hospital room during the bad weeks. I read him baseball box scores when the pain medication made it hard for him to concentrate, not because he asked me to, but because it was the only thing that made him calm. My husband David came to visit sometimes. He was supportive. Attentive. Said everything a good husband is supposed to say. Your dad is a fighter, R.A. He's going to pull through. I believed every word. Dad passed on a Tuesday in September. At the funeral, David held my hand through the entire service. He cried during the eulogy. Standing at the grave in the gray Portland rain, he pulled me close and whispered, "Your dad was a great man. And we are going to honor everything he built. I promise you that." I held on to those words for weeks. Then came the night of March 15th. I was asleep when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I reached for it expecting nothing. Columbia Bank alert: a transaction of $125,000 has been processed from your savings account ending in 4892. If this was not authorized by you, contact us immediately. I read it 3 times. My father's money. Gone. At 2:31 in the morning. I called the bank's fraud line. Verified my identity. Waited. The specialist came on, calm and professional. "Ms. Hayes, the transaction was initiated through your mobile banking app. The 2-factor authentication code was sent to a phone number on file ending in 5892. I didn't recognize that number. Do you share your account access with anyone?" My stomach hit the floor. "My husband," I whispered. "Trusted contact access." He said it was for emergencies. The specialist froze the account immediately. Then added, "I'd recommend checking your personal devices for unauthorized software." My husband filed court papers to take my dead father's house while I was still grieving. One document he never knew about ended everything. I opened my laptop on the kitchen counter. Most applications were familiar. Chrome, Spotify, Adobe. But tucked between 2 system utilities was something I had never seen before. I clicked it. A loading bar. A blank screen. And the memory hit me like cold water. 6 months ago. September. David had borrowed my laptop. "Yours is running slow, babe. Want me to optimize it?" 20 minutes at the kitchen table. All good. Should run way faster now. I walked into the living room. That's when I saw the envelope. Yellow. Legal-sized. Half buried under sympathy cards I hadn't had the strength to open. Multnomah County Circuit Court. Portland, Oregon. My hands tore it open. Petition for conservatorship of the estate. Petitioner, David James Hayes. Respondent, Rachel and Hayes. Words jumped off the page. Unable to manage financial affairs. Cognitive impairment. Risk of exploitation. Request sole appointment as conservator. Hearing date, March 18, 9 a.m. I checked my phone. March 15. 72 hours. The floorboards upstairs creaked. David appeared in the doorway. Yawning. Relaxed. Hey babe. What are you doing up? I looked at him. Really looked at him. And saw a complete stranger. Couldn't sleep. Just thinking about Dad. He crossed the room and wrapped his arms around me. I stood completely still. Every muscle locked. I know, he murmured. But I'm here. I'll always be here for you. The moment he went back upstairs, I picked up my phone and searched for a lawyer. He had spent 6 months building a trap. I had 72 hours to take it apart. And I had no idea yet how deep the lie actually went. By 8 a.m. I was sitting in Nathaniel Parker's office in downtown Portland. I had found him through a desperate 3 a.m. Google search. Left a voicemail that was barely coherent. He called back at 6:45. Come in at 8. Bring everything. He read David's petition in complete silence. When he looked up, his eyes were sharp and steady. Your husband is requesting conservatorship of your estate only. Not your personal care. Not your daily decisions. Just your finances. What does that mean? It means he knows exactly what he's doing. Full guardianship requires proving you can't function independently at all. That's a high bar. But estate conservatorship only requires convincing a judge you can't safely manage money, especially after a major loss. He filed this right after your father's death on purpose. He set the petition down. He's claiming grief-related cognitive impairment. That you're vulnerable and need someone conveniently himself to step in and take control. I run my own business. I've managed my finances since I was 22. I believe you. But he's counting on a judge not having time to verify that in an emergency hearing. I told him everything. The bank alert. The unknown phone number. The application on my laptop. The night David had optimized my computer. Nathaniel's jaw tightened as I talked. That wasn't optimization. That was a keylogger. Software that records every keystroke you type. Every password. Every banking credential. He installed it 6 months ago and has been watching everything. When did the inheritance arrive in your account? October. About 6 weeks after Dad passed. So he installed the surveillance software in September. Waited for the money to arrive. Captured your banking credentials. Added his phone to your 2-factor authentication. Then waited for you to fall asleep. He said the next word quietly, premeditated. I reached into my purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. My father had me sign this in 2018. He was very specific about it. He said if anything ever happens, I want to make sure you choose who helps you. Not anyone else. Nathaniel unfolded it. Read it. And for the first time, something in his posture shifted. This is an advanced designation of conservator, he said. Under Oregon Revised Statutes 125.055. He read it aloud. I, Michael Hayes, being of sound mind, do hereby designate my daughter, Rachel Ann Hayes, as my sole and exclusive conservator, should such appointment become necessary. This designation supersedes any other claims or petitions. He looked up. This has legal priority over every other petition. including those from spouses. Your father had a licensed attorney draft this, sign it, notarize it, and file it with the county 6 years ago. This document is a legal wall between David and your estate. 1 second of relief. So I'm protected. Not yet. David knows this document exists. He went into this knowing it would block him. Which means he has a plan to get around it. He picked up his phone. The only way around an advanced designation is to prove you're currently unfit. Too impaired to protect your own interests regardless of your father's wishes. He needs medical evidence. He started dialing. Which means either he found it. Or he created it. What his investigator found in the next 24 hours wasn't just evidence of fraud. It was the complete portrait of a man I had never actually known. I went home and acted normal. David moved through the house completely relaxed. Made dinner. Watched TV. Texted me from the couch to ask if I wanted popcorn. I watched him, and thought he actually believes he has already won. 48 hours before the hearing, I walked back into Nathaniel's office. His desk was buried under folders and highlighted printouts. James Wilson, the private investigator, stood by the window. Quiet. Still. The look of someone who had spent decades finding things other people tried very hard to hide. He slid a folder across the desk. Mrs. Hayes. I've done financial investigations for 23 years. Hidden assets, offshore accounts, money laundering. But your husband isn't hiding money. He shook his head. He's drowning in it. Nathaniel opened the folder. David owes $480,000. The air left my lungs. Business debt $285,000. David had told me his tech startup, Streamlink, was on hold. That he was freelancing while he refined the product. The truth, Streamlink had collapsed 8 months ago. He had poured his entire savings into it, maxed out business credit lines, borrowed from private investors who were now circling with lawyers. The company's dissolution had been filed quietly in a county he knew I would never check. Credit card debt $125,000. 5 cards. All maxed. Minimum payments running $4,000 a month. He's been paying one card with another for months. It was days from total collapse. Personal loans, $70,000. Payday lenders. Interest rates between 18 and 35%. These are the loans you take when every bank has already said no. James tapped one final page. And 3 weeks ago, David transferred $25,000 to a woman named Elena Rodriguez. 29. Owns a hair salon in Beaverton. He slid a photograph across the desk. Surveillance image. David outside a modern salon. His arm around a woman with long dark hair. Both of them laughing. She was kissing his cheek. The world went very quiet inside me. They've been together 10 months, James said. Flat. Professional. Started last May, right when his business collapsed. He told her he was separated from you. That the divorce was almost finalized. He's been funding renovations to her salon. New equipment. Full rebrand. 10 months. While I was sitting beside my father's hospital bed. While I was planning his funeral. While I was standing at that grave in the rain. David was building a new life. He wants to leave me, I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. He wants to leave you with nothing, Nathaniel said quietly. The savings in the house together are worth $580,000. Against $480,000 in debt, that gives him $100,000 and a clean start with Elena. He leaned forward. But the house is his real target. Your father's house in Laurelhurst is worth $380,000. Fully paid off. If David gets conservatorship, Oregon law gives him authority to petition the court to sell that property, claiming it's in your best financial interest. The proceeds go into the conservatorship account, which he controls entirely. I thought about that house. The porch where Dad graded papers on Sunday afternoons. The kitchen where he taught me his mother's chili recipe. The backyard where he built me a treehouse using a library book and zero construction experience. My father built that house. I grew up there. I know, Nathaniel said. And David is counting on the court never fully understanding what that means. He paused. That's why we're going to make sure they do. James pulled out one more photograph, David at a Starbucks, sliding a thick envelope across a table to a woman in a business suit. 3 days before he filed the petition. The envelope contained $5,000 in cash. Nathaniel opened David's petition to a tabbed exhibit, Psychological Evaluation. Dr. Lisa Walker, PsyD. This report claims you underwent a comprehensive psychological assessment on March 10 and were found to have severe memory impairment, diminished financial judgment, and vulnerability to exploitation. I have never seen any Dr. Lisa Walker. Not once in my life. I know. He turned his laptop toward me. Oregon Health Authority. Provider Directory, Lisa Walker. Psychologist. No records found. Washington, California, Idaho. The National Register of Health Service Psychologists, every licensed psychologist in the United States. No records found. Dr. Lisa Walker does not exist, Nathaniel said. Not anywhere. The silence in the room was total. David couldn't get around your father's designation without medical proof that you're unfit. He couldn't prove something that wasn't true. So he paid someone $5,000 in cash to fabricate it. He looked at me directly. He submitted forged evidence to a court of law. Under oath. He had built his entire case on a lie. Nathaniel had 48 hours to prove it. And he had one weapon David never once considered. That evening Nathaniel's phone rang. Miller, the forensic computer analyst, had finished examining my laptop, speakerphone. No preamble. Stealth Monitor Pro. Installed September 10, 2023. 7:43 p.m. Active continuously for 6 months. Records every keystroke, every screenshot, every password, every authentication code. All data transmitted in real time to one email address, dh.secure2023@protonmail.com. DH. David Hayes. That account was created September 9, one day before the software was installed from the same IP address registered to David Hayes' apartment in the Pearl District. Nathaniel's jaw was tight. Can you testify in court in 48 hours? Everything is documented. Installation records, transmission logs, IP mapping, metadata. It's airtight. The next morning, Nathaniel and I sat together going through the fake psychological report line by line. He spread the pages across his desk like a crime scene. 5 reasons this falls apart in front of a judge. Pay attention. 1. No interview date or time. A real forensic evaluation documents exactly when the assessment occurred. Hour and minute. This says March 2024. That's a placeholder. Nobody forgot to fill it in. It was never there because the interview never happened. 2. No test results. Psychologists assessing cognitive function for legal purposes use validated instruments. MoCA. MMSE. WACE 4. These produce numerical scores that can be independently verified. This report has zero data. Just phrases like clinical observation suggests impairment. That is not how real clinicians write. 3. No license number. Oregon law requires any psychological report submitted for legal purposes to include the provider's license number. Not optional. Legally required. This report has nothing beneath the signature except a typed name. For template language. Patient demonstrates significant impairment. Conservatorship recommended. I found nearly identical phrasing in 3 publicly available sample reports online. Because whoever wrote this used a template and filled in your name. He closed the folder. And 5. The doctor doesn't exist. Anywhere. In any database. In this country, his phone buzzed. A small, controlled smile crossed his face. James found her. The woman from Starbucks. He stood and started gathering documents. She'll be in that courtroom tomorrow. March 18, 9 a.m. I walked into Multnomah County Circuit Court wearing the navy blazer my father had bought me the day I launched my business. He had shown up at my apartment door holding a garment bag. Every good fighter needs the right armor, he'd said. Courtroom for B.No jury. 2 tables facing a raised bench. Fluorescent lights. Cold air. David was already seated. Navy suit I had never seen. Hands folded on the table. When I walked in, his eyes moved to me for exactly 1 second, calculating, and then away. Like a problem he was already confident he'd solved. Judge Robert Franklin entered. Late 50s. Steel gray hair. Wire-rimmed glasses. The face of a man who had heard every possible lie and stopped being surprised by any of them a long time ago. He settled into his chair. Opened his folder. Looked up. Emergency petition for conservatorship of the estate. Mr. Morrison opening statement. Morrison stood. Smooth. Measured. Carefully sympathetic. He painted the picture he needed. Grieving wife. Concerned husband. Tragic inheritance. Professional evaluation from a licensed psychologist. He lifted the report like it was evidence of something sacred. Dr. Lisa Walker's comprehensive assessment found severe memory impairment and inability to safely manage finances. My client respectfully requests appointment as conservator, not to control his wife, but to protect her. He sat down. Nathaniel Rose. No papers. No notes. He stood in silence for 1 full second until every person in that room was looking at him. Let me be direct, Your Honor. Pause. This is not a case about protection. This is a case about theft. Morrison shot up. Objection overruled. Continue. 3 days ago at 2:31 in the morning, David Hayes attempted to steal $125,000 from his wife's savings account. He used spyware installed secretly on her laptop to capture her banking credentials. He added his own phone to her security verification under the pretense of being helpful. Then he waited until she was asleep and executed the transfer from his own apartment. David's shoulders went rigid. When the bank's fraud system froze that transfer, he filed this petition as his backup plan. A legal mechanism to accomplish through the courts what he had failed to accomplish in the middle of the night. Nathaniel held up my father's document. In 2018, Rachel's father executed an advance designation of conservator under Oregon law, naming Rachel as the sole person authorized to manage her own affairs. Drafted by a licensed attorney. Notarized. Filed with the county. Legally binding. It supersedes this petition entirely. He set it down. David Hayes knows about that document. It blocks him completely. So he did the only thing he could. His voice dropped to something cold and precise. He manufactured evidence. That psychological evaluation from Dr. Lisa Walker is a forgery. Dr. Lisa Walker does not exist. And we will prove it in this courtroom today. Total silence. Nathaniel connected his laptop to the courtroom projector. Oregon Health Authority. Provider directory. Live on the screen behind him. Every licensed psychologist in Oregon must be registered here. I'm searching for Dr. Lisa Walker now. He typed the name. Hit enter. No records found. The courtroom was completely still. Washington. No records found. California. No records found. Idaho. No records found. National Register of Health Service Psychologists. No records found. Dr. Lisa Walker does not exist. Not in Oregon. Not anywhere in the United States. Morrison's face had gone the color of concrete. Judge Franklin removed his glasses. Cleaned them slowly. Put them back. Mr. Morrison. Before submitting this report to my court, did you personally verify Dr. Walker's credentials? The silence stretched too long. Your Honor. I trusted my client's representation. You have over 20 years of experience. A 5-minute search would have shown you exactly what Mr. Parker just showed this courtroom. I should have verified. Yes. Yes, the judge said quietly. You should have. He turned to Nathaniel. You mentioned a cash payment. Show me. Nathaniel placed the surveillance photograph on the projector. David at Starbucks. The thick envelope sliding across the table. 3 days before this petition was filed. $5,000 in cash. We believe that payment purchased this report, a fabricated psychological evaluation from someone with no credentials and no license, designed to look official enough to fool a judge in a fast emergency hearing. David's attorney leaned over and whispered urgently. David didn't move. He just stared at the photograph. Mr. Parker, said Judge Franklin. Are you alleging Mr. Hayes knowingly submitted forged evidence to this court? Yes, Your Honor. And we have a witness ready to confirm it. The courtroom doors opened. And in that moment, I watched my husband's face go completely white. Michael Torres, Columbia Bank's senior fraud investigator. Video screen at the front of the courtroom. He walked through every detail. The 2:31 a.m. transfer from David's Pearl District apartment. The IP address. The authentication code routed to David's phone, a number added to my account 2 days after my father's funeral while I was too hollow with grief to question anything. In 14 years of fraud investigation, have you ever seen a legitimate account holder initiate a 6-figure transfer at 2:30 a.m. from someone else's apartment? Never. Miller. Forensic analyst. 6 months of surveillance. Every password I had ever typed. Every code. Every login. All flowing silently to David's encrypted inbox. From a technical standpoint, he executed this from his home network using an account linked directly to his own initials. He left a trail a first-year computer science student could follow. Judge Franklin leaned forward. He isn't sophisticated. No, Your Honor. He's someone who believed he was clever enough not to get caught. She paused. He was wrong. Then the courtroom doors opened. The woman from the Starbucks photograph walked to the stand. Mid-30s. Visibly shaking, under oath, she confirmed everything. She had been approached online. Offered $5,000 cash to write a psychological evaluation using a fictitious name. She had no credentials. No license. She had never met Rachel Hayes. Never spoken to her. She had used template language from sample reports she found online. She had not known it would be submitted to a court of law. When she realized what it was being used for, she had contacted Nathaniel's office. I didn't understand what I was helping him take from someone, she said. I'm sorry, Morrison asked for a recess. 15 minutes later he stood. Your Honor. My client wishes to withdraw the conservatorship petition, the room exhaled. Judge Franklin didn't move. Withdrawal of the petition does not resolve what is now before this court. He set down his pen. This court has received documented evidence of unauthorized spyware installed on a spouse's personal device. Evidence of attempted theft of $125,000 from a federally insured account using credentials obtained through that surveillance. Evidence of a forged psychological evaluation submitted under oath. And evidence of a cash payment made to the person who created that forgery. He looked directly at David. For the first time all morning, David looked back. I am referring this matter to the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office and the FBI Cyber Division for investigation of computer fraud, bank fraud, and fraud upon this court. Federal sentencing exposure exceeds 10 years. He turned to me. The petition for conservatorship is denied. The advance designation executed by Michael Hayes in 2018 stands as written. Mrs. Hayes's estate remains entirely under her own authority. He paused for just a moment. Your father was a man who understood that the people we love sometimes need protection, not from the world, but from the people they trust most. He closed his folder. Court is adjourned. I walked out of that courtroom into gray Portland rain. The same rain that had been falling at Dad's funeral. The same rain the morning I sat in Nathaniel's office holding the petition with shaking hands. It felt different now. Before I go, 5 things that saved me. Write these down. 1. Keep your finances separate. Not because you don't trust your partner. Because separation is legal protection. David had to go through the courts because he couldn't access my accounts directly. That boundary bought me the time I needed. 2. Know what your parents' estate documents say. My father's advance designation was the single most powerful document in that courtroom. Most people have never heard of one. Find out if yours exists. 3. Pay attention to who touches your devices. Digital access is real access. A 20-minute loan of your laptop can mean 6 months of surveillance. 4. If you receive legal documents you don't understand, move immediately. I had 72 hours. Don't wait. 5. And this is the one I think about most. Grief makes you open in ways you don't realize. You lower every wall because the pain is too heavy to carry and defend at the same time. The people who genuinely love you will protect that openness. The people who are using you will walk straight through it. Know the difference. Before it costs you everything. My father spent 40 years building something for me. He left me a note with the inheritance. 4 words. Rachel. I trust you. I wasn't going to let anyone take that. Not without a fight. If this story moved you, share it. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. And if you've been through something like this, your story matters. Tell it.